This is a house that Jack built, y'all. Remember this house?
Houses. They are being built constantly to support the ever-growing population on planet Earth. We've been building them forever. Civilizations in 10,000 BC already had their own distinctive architectural styles, even if they might seem primitive by today's standards. But what is it that people look for in their houses? Why do people build what they build? Let's go back in time. Our current history of architecture brings us back to the Neolithic era, also known as the New Stone Age. Houses were mostly built using bricks made from mud, tombs and ritual monuments were made from large stones. A great example we can still see today is Stonehenge. It was built in this time period. After this period, mankind moved on to more serious forms of construction. The ancient Greeks, for example, built houses with floor plans that don't look entirely out of place today. They are also well known for their temples, some of which can still be seen today. The architecture in the Middle Ages was dominated by large religious buildings and large military buildings, castles. Either built to impress or built to defend their land, things like comfort were a second thought. Let's travel back to the present. What are people building today?
I remember walking out and looking at the yard and just realizing like, oh my God, the land is calling for this linear design. And I was extremely taken with container structures.
Architect, artist and designer Julio Garcia built his own container house after a decade of planning. One important thing, the inside shouldn't feel like a container.
I've been in a couple of projects that are really attractive, but they don't function very well. And then you're like, well, I still feel that I'm in a metal box. If the final user has that feeling like it was not a successful project. Good design shouldn't have to be just purchased. You should work with what you find. And the entire kitchen came from a building that they were gonna demo. We went and salvaged all the countertops. So if you're able to design around that, if you have the luxury of time to let the design come and trust that you will have what you need when you need it.
But even if you don't want to feel like being inside a container, you can be honest about some elements of it.
The floors are the original container floors, at least on this side. It's about 3 inches thick. They were finished.
So these scuff marks are...
From the skids, from the pallets coming in and out. We refinished them, put an epoxy finish on them and, kept them. I have a lot of designs for container structures, but every time we get approached to design a new project, people tend to enjoy this, but I'm a strong believer that the site will predict the design of how they want to be installed. So this particular design may not install well somewhere else.
But what if you don't want a building that looks like a container, but still want to use the Lego-like building blocks? In Northern Ireland, farmer and part-time architect Patrick Bradley had different ideas about containers. Instead of proudly showing them off, his containers got to take on a more humble role.
I used the containers purely just for the structural. It's a chip method. It's
4 building blocks.
4 building blocks, cantilever, crossed over, and formed by main primary structure of the boat.
On the inside, the house has bedrooms on the bottom floor and living space on the top to take advantage of the views. He clad the containers in materials that match the colors of the surrounding area to create a stunning modern look. The end result didn't look like a container at all.
This is very good.
Through the front door up above, what were 2 giant containers is now one seamless space, with kitchen and living areas all of a piece.
I like this. What a treat.
Up here, there's no sense of containment, but connection through big windows to the distant landscape.
It's all about this view, isn't it? That way, that way, that way. The 3 mountains.
The 3 mountains.
Wow. I love the way that rusty orange frame just separates the wildflower bit from the field beyond. It's just a nice little architectural detail there, that little frame. And this is pure genius. Fake grass, wild forest, and mountain beyond. I mean, that's a kind of Lord of the Rings view, right? With fake grass in it. And you think, no, surely not. But actually, it sort of
makes it functional.
Cleaning business owner Clinton Dell went for something, well, larger. He decided to build a massive house with absolute perfection and cleanness as the main goal.
10 weeks into the project, and now the steel frame is up, the scale of this house reveals itself.
Bloody Nora. What box have you opened of Pandora's? Look at this.
No, it's quite vast, isn't it?
I mean, this main living area here is large enough to park 1, 2, 4 fire engines in.
does look big, I must say.
Halfway through the bedroom building there
Yeah.
is the border with Belgium, isn't it?
But how does a space this vast turn out as a home? In the building stage, it looks more like a large shopping center. What will become of it?
My word, it looks faultless. I mean, impeccable.
And of course, it's vast. Stretching the full 60 meters width of the site into the woodland. Much of the building is glass, and so the forest seems to gently seep inside it. On the approach, though, thanks to the tiles, the house presents a crisp white protective shell of porcelain.
On the other end of the spectrum, we have Tammy and Logan.
I was in the investment management industry and commuting 2 hours a day, going to a job I hated, overweight, unhappy, kind of middle-class plight, I guess.
Tammy and her husband Logan were done with large houses and an abundance of things they never used. They decided to downsize drastically.
After we started downsizing, I found this thing called the 100 Thing Challenge. The idea being like narrow down your personal items to under 100 things. I love my camera. Here are Logan's books. Mine are up in the loft by my bedside. I don't have many books. I have probably 10 books. I used to have hundreds. You could say this is really expensive in terms of square footage, but it's less than a car would cost, and we could pay for it in cash, and then if we moved, we could take it with us.
Their tiny home always serves as a home, not just when you're in your hometown. But what about personal space? How do you deal with always sharing a glorified RV?
If I need space, I just go outside, and that works. You know, it's always funny to me because people are like, well, how do you have space? It's like, well, I really like hanging out with Logan, you know. But yeah, it's been good for us as a couple because, you know, if there are problems, you have to talk about them. Like, you can't be like, fine, I'm going to the room and slamming the door, because you can't. So.
Some people like to live small, others like to live big. Some proudly show off the material of their houses, others want a space that just feels right. Which approach is best for your house? That's easy. The one you prefer.
I feel the cold loneliness. It follows me around. It seems to be my only friend in this town. The streets are filled with strangers. Their faces look right through. Nobody knows my name here, so I'm coming back to you. Ooh, I'm going